Hello everyone, amateur meteorologist First and Weather here. It is September 2nd, 2019, and we have Hurricane Dorian to talk about. I wasn't able to make any videos over the past week or so because I was out on vacation, so I apologize for that. But now I'm back and I'm ready to talk about some really interesting weather that we're going to have this week, stretching all the way down from the southern tip of Florida all the way up to potentially the New England states, as they could also see impacts from Hurricane Dorian. And right now, in this video, I'm going to discuss the forecast for Dorian and basically give my opinion and analysis on what's going on and what's going to happen in the future. And again, for any actual information on decisions that you should make regarding evacuations or stuff like that, you should always go to the National Weather Service to get the official government information over there. So let's get started with the video. This is the NOAA 5 p.m. advisory, and this is, as you can see, Hurricane Dorian. The orange right here, or this brownish color, very small, is the hurricane wind field, and the orangish color is the tropical storm wind field. As you can see, the tropical storm wind field has expanded slightly as Hurricane Dorian has been weakening over the past several hours or so. And when a hurricane tends to weaken, the wind field tends to expand actually, which could mean bad news for Florida, because as you can see, the track still is keeping Hurricane Dorian off of the Florida coastline, and as it slowly shifts to the northwest over the next couple of days, it is just grazing Florida. But as you can see, the cone of uncertainty, it does still have a very close landfall possibility. If this just goes 50 miles to the west, we're talking about an extremely different story when it comes to the impacts from Dorian against Florida. So again, this is a very close situation, but right now it looks like Florida will be just lucky enough to escape the worst of Hurricane Dorian. And right now it has maximum sustained winds at 145 miles per hour, and it is stationary right now. It is essentially stalled. It has been over the Grand Bahamas now for the past day, or more than that actually. And it was just moving west at like 1 mile per hour, very slow movement actually, and so that it's just pounding those areas. And now it has started to move in the west northwesterly direction. Right now, from the latest 5 p.m. report, it is stationary, but in the 2 p.m. it was moving west northwesterly, so that turn has begun, and that the way that turn happens and the sharpness of that turn is essential in determining the potential impacts that Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, and Virginia could potentially see from this. So as of now, definitely looking like a close call for Florida. Just a little bit of a movement, 50 miles or even 20 miles to the west would really make things much worse. But again, even though there's not going to be a direct landfall, the impacts on the eastern Florida coastline are still going to be quite dramatic and quite severe. You're still going to have high wind gusts, potentially, hurricane wind gusts potentially. You're still going to have that heavy rain. You're still going to have that storm surge. So again, the impacts are still going to be quite severe. It's just that if it goes a little bit to the west, they could be far worse. So let's just keep that in mind. So again, prepare for the worst, and because again, Hurricane Dorian is very close to the Florida coastline. Just a small shift could mean a completely different story. But this is the GOES 16 satellite, and as you can see, it is just rotating on itself. And again, like the report showed, it is stationary. And as you can see, these nice bands right here. We have a few storms now in Florida from the very outer bands connecting to Hurricane Dorian, and nicely defined eye right here spinning right on top of itself. And it has weakened slightly, again, possibly because it has been on top of itself the entire day, and it should weaken some more actually as we start to see ocean upwelling due to it being so stationary. So this system will continue to weaken as we go into the next few days, but ever so slightly. Now these are the spaghetti models for Hurricane Dorian. To the left we have the 18Z September 2nd run from, I think, the GFS. And as you can see, it has Dorian right here. It starts to make that northwesterly turn, and then it starts to shift to the northeast before it goes out to sea, and then potentially makes landfall in Newfoundland. So this spaghetti model plot shows, again, a near miss for Florida. but still pretty significant impacts. And then it shows some almost a near landfall in the Outer Banks region of North Carolina. And to the right here, we have a similar story, near miss for Florida, pretty significant conditions for South Carolina and Georgia, and then a near landfall, or if not landfall, for North Carolina before it goes out to sea and then Canada. Now to the left right here, this is another ensemble plot, and again, same story, near miss for Florida, and then almost a landfall for northern South Carolina or North Carolina. And to the right here, we have the intensity plot. So as you can see right now, it is a pretty strong Category 4 hurricane. It was Category 5, but it has slightly weakened from upwelling and just being on top of itself the entire day. And the models are now showing it to be consistently weakening as we go through time, and that will be because of the ocean upwelling, and also as it gets closer to land and interacts with drier air to the west. So pretty much a linear line, actually, straight downwards in the weakening. Let me get my pen out for you guys, and as you can see, it's going straight down. So that's some good news. But again, the biggest threat from hurricanes is not the wind, it's the flooding, it's the storm surge, and that still will be pretty significant, even though the winds will start to slowly decrease in intensity as we go through the next few days. Now this is the GFS 500 millibar geopotential height, and this is for forecast hour 24. This is 12Z Tuesday. As you can see, it is still stuck in place right here. It still has that stall. And so right now, I think we have entered that stall. The movement is stationary, and it will stay like that for the next couple, or not couple, but the next day or so before it finally starts to move. Or not day, actually. The next 12 or so hours before it finally starts to get a move and make that northwesterly and then northeasterly turn. This is essentially a GIF that shows the stationary movement. This is from 12Z Monday to 6Z Tuesday. As you can see, it essentially stays right here in the same spot where the black is. Then finally at 12Z Tuesday, it starts to make a more northwesterly turn to Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, and Virginia. Now here's the NAM. And this is another GIF that shows that stationary movement, which is forecasted. And again, if that stationary movement is a little bit less significant than we expect, and it goes just a little bit to the west, that means a completely different story for the Florida coastline. So these areas need to really pay attention and to prepare for the worst. And we can see that the NAM is in agreement with the GFS with that stall before it slowly starts to meander to the northwest and then to the northeast. Now this is this is for 6Z Monday, and this is the GFS. You can see Hurricane Dorian right here. And so now we're going to analyze what is causing this turn to the north, or what is causing this turn to the northwest and to the northeast. Why are the models projecting this as we go into Tuesday? And what the reason is because of this high pressure system right here. So we have a big ridge right over here in the west. So we have jet stream like this, and then we have another ridge right here. All right. So that's creating a pattern like this. And so it's essentially being sandwiched between two ridges. You have this one going like this one going like this. And so it really has nowhere to go. It can't go out to sea right now. It can't go here. So it's just going where there's weakness. And the weakness right now is this trough. You have the shortwave trough right here. And so Hurricane Dorian is just going to slowly go up here as we go to the next few days. However, this trough also will make another impact. As it goes to the east, it will weaken this side of the ridge and basically create a weakening or opening for Hurricane Dorian to go to. So let me show that in the next slide. This is the shortwave trough right here. It's shifted east now, all right? Do you see that? And now this is the ridge. If you recall in the last image, let me go back, oops. That ridge was much stronger right here. Let me delete this for you guys. Right, that ridge was pretty expansive like this, keeping Dorian from going out to sea and making it go west and then eventually northwest, right? Or stationary like it is now. However, with that trough, it is essentially tearing off part of this ridge right here. And so now that ridge is pretty far east now. It's moved, 200, 300 miles to the east, and that has allowed an opening to occur where we now have space for Dorian to go to. This is not space where Dorian cannot enter because there's essentially no ridge now. And so that encourages Dorian to go to the east, all right? So go down to the next slide, we can see that Dorian also, as it starts to head northeastwardly, due to that ridge being further south, it gets picked up by the polar jet right here. It goes like this. Before, it was separate. This going like this, and this right here. Now, it's part of the polar jet right here, as you can see, and the ridge to the southeast intensifies, all right? Before it become completely erased from that shortwave trough right here that moved to the east. As this ridge intensifies, you have those southwesterly winds also encouraging it to keep on going north. However, one thing I must note is, I do see the potential for a landfall in northeastern South Carolina or southwestern North Carolina and also the Outer Banks, because as this ridge intensifies, it increases the southwesterly wind flow. And so that's going to encourage Dorian to go this way. While it does have that opening here, it is now significantly further to the north than it was right here. All right, you have this big empty space right here. Now, it's smaller and it's further to the north. So now, with that ridge right here, the ridge right here not really giving it any open space here, it's forcing Dorian to slowly inch to the northwest as those winds from the southwest encourage it to go right here. So I think there is potential, the way it looks right now, for a landfall in this region. A brief little skirt of the coastline, but I do not think it's going to go inland just because of the way this pattern is set up. Once it goes further north, it will then be encouraged to go this way as you have that opening right here, all right? So, again, to recap, that shortwave trough is going to erase part of that high right here, or that ridge, encouraging or promoting Dorian to go to the northeast, right? Slowly start to make that turn, right? However, as this ridge intensifies, it will help Dorian go to the northwest as those southwesterly winds push it this way. So what's going to happen is, early Tuesday morning, as that stall finally ends over here, it starts to go this way, all right? That ridge intensifies, and it could go like this, all right? That is looking certainly like a possibility right now. So as it goes like this, then slowly skirts the coast, and then finally goes out to sea as this ridge then, as it enters this empty area right here. And now this is valid for 0Z Friday. As you can see, it is right along the coast. And that's why the GFS is showing this. That ridge right here that intensified, it promoted Dorian to go northwest and potentially make landfall somewhere in South Carolina or North Carolina. Now you can see that ridge is further to the south, all right? So you don't really have any influence from that. It is now fully absorbed in the polar jet. And so as another system eventually comes through, it will kick it out to the east. As you can see, that's what happens. You also have the influence from the ridge right here. As it goes further north, those northwesterly winds right here are going to promote it to go to the east, and also potentially to the southeast. However, because of that ridge right here, it won't. It will most likely slow down and then slowly meander to the east. Not like this, but slowly meander to the east. And that's what the model shows. It gets picked up by this. It gets kicked out to the east from this ridge, and also from another shortwave trough that comes through. Now this is the European ensemble. This is valid for 12Z Wednesday after the stall has ended. As you can see, it's, again, very close to Florida, all right? Again, close call. Florida's probably seeing hurricane conditions on the immediate coastline. This is 12Z Friday, so very similar to the GFS. Has it right off the coast of North Carolina, if not making landfall, because of that ridge right here that was promoting it to go basically right along the coast. Same thing here, that ridge influence pushing southwest, which finally starts to make it go a little bit to the east, and then again, it's connected to the polar jet, which then kicks it out to the east also. So you have the ridge and the polar jet helping Dorian to go out to sea, but slowly, and before and after that ridge in the southeast helps it go inland just slightly. Now here is the GEFS ensemble plot. As you can see, there's pretty good agreement now with the 12Z GFS. and we have a big cluster right here. Before it was like this, right? So pretty good disagreement, but now, let me erase this for you guys. Now it's pretty much in this area right here. So there's good agreement. It's going to go somewhere like this, with the stall ending right here Tuesday morning before it slowly starts to creep northwestward. And then here, I think, is the main danger zone. As that ridge from the southeast intensifies, that Bermuda High intensifies, the winds from the southwest go up like this. It could push Dorian to make landfall somewhere in North Carolina or South Carolina, providing devastating conditions. One thing to note is, by this point, Dorian will not be, most likely will not be a major hurricane. It will be a Cat 2 or a strong Cat 1. So that does help reduce the wind threat, but again, the rainfall will be very high. We're talking maybe up to 15 inches of rain. We're talking storm surge. We're talking flooding. So again, this is not something to mess with. This is pretty significant for North Carolina and South Carolina, and even Virginia Beach, extreme southeastern Virginia could see pretty significant impacts from this as Dorian potentially makes landfall right around here. And then after that, it should go like this as the polar jet kicks it out to sea. So in summary, a near miss for Florida. Hurricane Dorian is going to go just off the Florida coastline, providing hurricane conditions for the immediate coast. But definitely, things could be much worse for Florida if it just went slightly inland and made landfall. We would be seeing devastating damage, devastating conditions. But again, a near miss for Florida. Then, as Hurricane Dorian slowly starts to shift northwestward, it goes slightly inland or makes landfall in northeastern South Carolina or eastern North Carolina before it finally goes out to sea. That is my forecast. I do believe that Hurricane Dorian will come extremely close to making landfall in North Carolina. I could be wrong, but that's what the data suggests right now, that it comes extremely close to making landfall in South Carolina or North Carolina based on the data, and then goes out to sea, providing impacts for possibly extreme southeastern Virginia. And so that's it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed. I'll be providing an update later this week, hopefully, and I'll see you guys next time.